So she says, is okay, so good afternoon. Let's come into a comfortable seat. As you come into your seat, you can prop yourself up however you choose so that it is actually as easeful as possible. Elongate up through your spine and make sure that your heart is over your pelvis and that your head's over your heart. And allow your breath to flow. You can keep your eyes open or closed, whatever feels most good in this moment, most beneficial. So as you feel your breath, notice the inherent oscillation from fullness to emptiness. This oscillation between opposites, we know in Sanskrit, is spanda, which is pulsation, the play between two opposites. And as we are in play with these two opposites, we also are reminded in this practice as we come into this sadhana, if you will. Sadhana is a spiritual practice, that spanda is one of the names for your essence nature. It's one of the aspects of your essence nature, all of our essence nature. The pulsation is divinity. One of the purposes of sadhana or spiritual practice is to recognize that. And it's perhaps just that simple. To recognize that you are pulsation and that you get to see that, you get to engage with that. You know, last week we played a lot with the expansive side of spanda, the Neesha spanda, as it were, and because it was solstice. And this week we're going to engage a little more with the Neesha spanda, the contracting side of the pulsation. Most of us humans have preferences, things that we like and things we don't like. And I tend to preference the expansive side of all things, but we know that our nature is both and everything in between. And as we are still breathing and recognizing that the idea that the contracted side of things, though it might be, you know, a little less fun or a little more dark, it's just as much divine as the expansive side of things. And that our ideas about one thing being good and one thing being bad are just that. There are constructs that we make ourselves, or perhaps, you know, society or culture. Playing with the contracted side of pulsation is things drawn into themselves. It's getting closer to self. So you feel as you exhale and your lungs condense, they're moving in closer to source. Kind of like how in the dark moon, the new moon right now, it's an opportunity to move deeper into you. In the physical body, when we contract the muscles, it's safer. The fibers are shortening, they're condensing, and this is how we protect our joints and even open our joints. So we're honoring all sides of the pulsation today in order to potentially deeply recognize this great gift that we each of us have, the breath, the body, the mind, and the privilege to be in the space of practice together where we remember and rehearse these teachings. If you like, you can bring your hands to your heart center. When we come to the recognition that, yes, we are in the beginning of our practice, we're opening to these mysterious currents of grace, and maybe be so open to these currents of grace that we have the deep recognition that we are that, we are pulsation. So we'll begin to invoke this grace through the sound Om. We'll do it just one time today, all together, or you can listen wherever you are with your breath. Exhale. Take a deep breath in. Bow your head to your heart and release your hands. Open your eyes if your eyes are closed and lift your gaze. Welcome, welcome, each of you. We're going to start on our back and have I put out some blocks for you. Two blocks. That's probably it as far as props go, but you lie down on your back and then draw your knees in toward your chest. You can hold on either to the back of your thighs or the fronts of your shins. It's really your preference. Start to be curious about your sacrum. It's a generally triangular shaped bone at the base of your spine, but above your tailbone. And then visualize that sacrum, instead of being triangular, visualize it being round and like a clock face. And now your inquiry is to go around to each number on that face of the clock. So you're circling on your sacrum. Sensing in to each number as if your sacrum had a clock on it, right? Which of course it doesn't, but we're seeing we can sense with mind's eye and even feel with the body. And then go the other direction. So it doesn't matter which direction you started. We're just sensing in, feeling, noticing what comes along with this inquiry as you're still breathing. Perhaps you have a greater sense of self-knowing of the back of your pelvis, or perhaps you're noticing little core muscles or big core muscles. And then just coming to neutral, hug your knees in toward your chest as much as feels good. So a lot oftentimes feels good. You might feel your sacrum peeling up off of the ground as you go into this deep flexion. And then you can release your legs down to the ground. Now we're going to grab a block and put the block between your calves or shins. Open your arms out to your side and lift your feet up. So breathing here. We're starting with shins pretty much horizontal, and that's it, Catherine. Your thighs pretty much vertical. And just notice that your core turns on like a light switch. It might flicker, pulse, but generally it's on. Then we're going to draw the knees in a little closer to the chest, and then breathe in to draw your knees toward the right, keeping the left shoulder down. And as you exhale, come back through center, and then the other direction. Breathing in, knees toward the left, taking your own breath rhythm and exhaling back through center. So this is the game. This is called Jatara Parivartanasana, revolving around the belly pose. As you breathe in, the knees go to one side, probably the right is where we are, and exhale back through center. And we're squeezing the block between the feet, squeezing in, feeling and noticing as you do this. You might get more of that contracting through the lower legs, but it feeds up into the inner thighs and provides more core support. And the belly has to contract as you exhale, and the deep belly, the opposite side that the knees go to, pull your hips down to the ground. You might notice as you squeeze that block, your lower back is supported. Now, it's up to you, these next few rounds, if you're feeling very supported and you're accustomed to this pose, you can move your thighs further away from your chest. And if you're very familiar with this pose and you know you have a strong core, you can make your legs more straight. So I always give a lot of personal responsibility to you in the practice. It's very important to be developing your own sense of self, your own wisdom with these teachings, with these instructions. Beautiful. So the next time that you come back from the left, squeeze that block there, Jen, and that can be your last time. After you come back from the left, the next time, release the block once again, just hug the knees in toward the chest, and then stretch the leg long on the ground, reach the arms up and overhead, stretch through the arms and the legs, pulling them away from one another, just full body length here. And then bending knees, roll to either side. You can rock up as well if that's better for you. And then come to hands and knees. Spread your fingers out and place your hands underneath your shoulders, rooting each of your fingers, checking into your breath. Follow an inhalation to lift the knees and the hips into downward facing dog. And then as you continue to breathe, paddle through your feet. So moving and bending one knee and then the other, feeling, allowing the body to speak to the mind or to be sensed through your ability to perceive. So we're right now less in giving the body instructions and a little bit more to the side of receptivity and embodiment of what is. Still breathing, having your breath a little deeper than your regular, everyday, run-of-the-mill kind of breath. Coaxing the pulsation a little bit deeper. Become that much more aware. And as you breathe out the next time, even out through your feet so both legs are evenly, basically doing the same thing, either a little bit bent or straight. On your next breath root your tail, coil forward through to the plank. So you root your tail and reach your spine forward. And on your next exhale, reach back to downward facing dog. Let's do that again. So exhale to initiate the tailbone coming forward. You get a full breath in, and then you exhale back to downward dog. Again, coiling forward, and exhale initiates. So you get a full breath in, and exhale back to dog. And then come forward, stepping or hopping your feet toward the front part of your mat. In a standing forward bend, taking a moment to arrive in your feet. What does that mean? Where else would you be? Well, clearly, where else would you be is almost a funny question. Most of us humans spend more time in our heads than in our feet. So this is just a sweet opportunity to be in your feet and follow an inhalation to come all the way up, riding the wave all the way up to the top, that expansive side of the pulsation. And as you exhale, the breath moves out, you contract back into home base, into heart, then breathe in to stretch your arms out and up. And as you exhale, fold forward all the way into your static forward fold, Uttanasana. As you breathe in, half lift into Ardha Uttanasana, that just means half lifting. Exhale to fold and breathe in to come all the way up. With your exhale, the hands come back close to home. That knee may just on the exhale. And again, breathe in, stretch up. Exhale to fold. We call this sequence a half sun salute. So we're folding forward all the way, release head. Breathe in, half lift. The hands can rise to blocks your shins, spine long. Exhale to fold. And breathe in to come all the way up. You're expanding up, reaching up through space. Keep the expansive current even as you come in close to home with your hands to heart. Breathe in, stretch up. Same thing again. Big reach through your edges. Take up some space as you fold forward. Breath goes all the way out. And then you breathe in and you expand again. Elongating spine. And as you exhale, your belly contracts. You're getting closer to you. Again, it's that Neesha Spanda, the contractor side of the Spanda. Breathe in to come all the way up. Big, big reach. And exhale, hands to heart. Heart is another name for your essence nature, the divine. Breathe in, stretch all the way up again. And exhale to fold forward. This time, we're going to grab a block and put it between the shins again. So between the thickest part of the calves. And so as you're breathing here, squeeze the shins in. So as you continue to breathe and in a forward fold, sorry about that, Jen, I was standing up talking. And just feel, so the feet don't move anywhere, the arches of the feet don't collapse, that's foundational, you keep that. Squeeze the outer heels in and notice how the calf muscles can hold on to that block. Also notice that it probably turns on the light switch up through the inner thighs and deep into the pelvis and the belly. Notice what, if anything, is happening through this contraction of squeezing the shins in. Keep hugging in as you breathe in, come all the way up. So we're using our muscles a fair amount of contracting. Exhale, hands to heart. Now send the hips back. Knees, tops of shins and knees come forward. Squeeze that block. Reach your arms out and up for Utkatasana. And so squeezing in, feel the strength of the inner thighs that also have that gives support. Yeah, deep in the belly. And then that support gives way to something else usually. Multiple things, safety, feeling of ease, a feeling of freedom, a feeling of when are we coming out of Utkatasana. Exhale to fold forward. And notice as you keep hugging into the block, then we get to move that block, step left leg back into lunge. And here we are, just in a lunge. Now, hands can be on blocks for a little more height, if that's feeling good for your body. That's always something to do. Otherwise, a lunge, feeling whole body here. Now, see if you can recreate the shins squeezing to the midline. It's a kind of a strange direction. I'm the first to admit it. So we're really taking the time with that. But then notice how you can really get that back thigh bone to lift up toward the sky. Then you get to reach your tailbone and extend forward through your spine. Take another deep breath here. As you exhale, step back to downward facing dog. As you breathe in, come forward to plank. And then keep breathing here. Squeeze the shins in so the heels hook in. Yep, nice work. Press the inner thighs up and then exhale, reach your tailbone. Your tailbone gets nice, lift closer. And your core is more contracted. From the contraction of your core, lengthen up to the crown of your head and exhale back. You go downward dog. Next exhale, step left foot forward. Squeezing the shins in to the midline, to the central axis, as if you had a block between your shins. And then notice how that action of contraction creates whatever it creates for you. So as we do some deeper hip openers today, This is our key action to keep the knee joint safe, to not put too much shear force on the knees. Stretch the spine forward, and as you exhale, step forward. Put the block between the shins, one block between the shins, squeeze it, bend the knees, Utkatasana, rise up. And as you breathe in the next time, sprout up, and hands slide back to heart. Home. Contracting in here, condensing in to your center. Bend your knees again, Utkatasana. Arms can go down to go up. Next exhale, fold all the way forward. Now, here we're going to shuffle back or hop to downward facing dog. And guess what? We're squeezing, right? And then, so here's the thing, that's it, good. So as you're squeezing, your heels squeeze in, but they don't get to hook in, they don't get to move in. Now notice, inner thighs are probably lit up with this. Press the tops of the thighs back using your inner thighs. Notice. Keep squeezing the block, come forward to plank. Notice if that gives you more access to your core, just by using your lower body like this. Next exhale, lower all the way down to the ground. Then you stretch your toes long so that the shoelace side of the foot's on the ground. And then you might have to adjust the block a little bit. It's a little awkward. Hug in through the shins. Notice that makes the bum pop up a little bit. Then you have space to root the tail down, down, down. Feel the strength of your belly. Keep that rise up into any shape of cobra that feels awesome or necessary for you today. So the shins are squeezing in. As your shoulders captured. A couple more breaths. You feel how that contraction in the lower legs gives the lower back support. She's nodding. She's like, I'll agree with you, Neesha. Okay, exhale, reach long to lower down. And then press back to downward dog. And yeah, we're still seeing if we have, it's a game, right? We're pulsing, squeezing the block in. So go ahead and bend your knees a few inches. Squeeze that block, feel the activation all the way up to the inner thighs. Then press the thighs back in space. Because what we're doing is giving traction to the spine. Beautiful, nice. Now, bend knees, hop or shuffle forward, or a combination of both. Utkatasana, bend knees, lift upper body up, and rise all the way up. Expand, expand, and exhale. You condense, move closer into heart. As hands come back to heart. Bending knees, lift upper body again. Utkatasana. Notice, maybe with squeezing the shins, you feel that there's a greater ability to sit back. And from there, then there's a greater ability to root your tail down and find even more strength. Next exhale, fold forward. Move the block. We're going to have block imprints on the shins. Step your left leg back into its lunge. Again, bring your right hand to the outside of your right calf. So, yeah, calf. Push it in. Push your calf in without letting the knee move in. And then lift the back thigh up. Now, lower the back knee down. But we're trying to keep the top of the back thigh rooted in the hip socket. Squeezing the shins in, root the tail down, lift the upper body up. You can release that squeezing in, and then stretch your arms out and up. Feeling the movement of your breath from one extreme to the full other extreme. Nice, you guys. Everybody's form is really great. Notice that that power of contracting to your midline is giving you the ability to reach your tail and perhaps even stretch up a little more. And as you exhale, reach forward, placing hands down, We're going to spin the left fingers to the left, turn the belly and the chest to the right, and stretch the right arm up. That's it. Left hand down. There we go. As you're continuing to breathe, notice the full imprint of your exactly right foot down, hugging that shin toward the middle, feeling that you might have greater access to your inner thighs. Press your inner thighs wide apart from one another, then root your tail down. Yep. And then you get more revolution of the chest opening, and as you exhale, place your hands down. Lift your back knee up, and then push your thighs back in space. So the shins are still resisting as you push your thighs back any amount. So the legs might move all the way straight, or they might move towards straight. So you exhale, reaffirm the contraction of the lower legs to the middle. As you breathe in, it's the resistance of those legs that give you the power to push your thighs back and apart, maybe getting into the hips in a new way. It's like we're juicing the pose, we're milking the pose. Bend into the front knee, and this time with an exhale, step forward. Notice there's a difference from side to side. And step right leg back. Bring your left hand to the outer left shin, squeeze in. So you're using your hand here a little bit to squeeze in. Press the tops of the thighs back and apart, and then there's space for your tailbone. You're going to extend long through the crown of the head. Keeping those actions, exhale the next time to lower the back knee and lift the upper body up. Good. Stretching those as you're ready. Excellent. So even though it might be more sensational to let the back thigh drop forward and down, because it will probably be more sensational, we're trying to reorganize and train the top of the thighs to stay deeper in the hip sockets, and then get more access into the rooting of the tailbone, which is below the sacrum. And from the tailbone rooting, the belly lifts straight up. And exhale, reach forward. So the right hand goes down, turn belly and chest to the left. Left arm can reach up if you did so on the first side. So as you exhale, hug lower legs in. Breathe in, press thighs back and apart. Keeping that, exhale, root tail. Keeping that as you breathe in, lengthen from tailbone all the way up to the crown of the head. And as you exhale, place your hands down. Lift your back knee up with a breath in. Exhale to push your thighs back any amount. Beautiful. So we're collaborating with not only the expansive side of our nature, but also the condensing side. So hold in the resistance through the lower legs. Notice if that as you resist the tops of the thighs back and apart, you might get to some new places and spaces, even for those of us who are flexible. As you exhale the next time, bend into your front knee, place your hands flat, step back to plank. So now we're creating the resistance without squeezing the block. Shins squeeze in, thighs rise, root tail, lower. As you exhale, stretch toes, cobra. Squeeze the shins in still. Come on down, bring your legs closer in. Squeeze, then root your tail, then rise up. See how, good job, lower down. So what happens when we come into a back bend is the legs want to splay out and too much external rotation happens, which cannot feel awesome on the lower back. So we're being really disciplined here. So squeezing shins in, feel the tops of thighs lift, Root the tail again and again and again. Feel the deep low belly lifting. One more time, rise up. Cobra, nice. That's it. Feel the difference in your back. I'm glad. I hope you're not saying yes to make me happy. Exhale to lower down. But of course, I am happy if it feels better in your lower back. Here we are in downward facing dog. So ultimately, we're working to continue to develop our own intuition and wisdom through the embodied practice, but having these tools helps. Take another deep breath. Ambulate however you wish to the front of your mat. So coming into a standing forward bend. And as you breathe in, Utkatasana, bend the knees, look upper body up. Begin to come all the way up. And exhale. Down. This time, place your block between your upper and inner thighs. So much about this practice is not just moving and stretching and strengthening, it's about organizing the joints. So squeezing the block between the inner thighs now. You feel inner thighs more, everybody has great form already. So notice as you press the block back, we're resisting the knees, resist the shins, squeeze those heels in as you move the block back. So we do want this trajectory from the navel toward pubis and then tailbone down toward pubis. I say that like it's the most fascinating thing because it is, to be in the body and just like feeling this. I'm not just trying to be theatrical. Yeah, beautiful. One more Utkatasana, bend your knees. You're pressing the block down and back. Then there's, nice, Jen. And then there's room for tailbone to come down. Excellent. Breathe in and rise up. Arms can come down. Did you guys feel that? How if you press the block back, that the knees will tend to go like that, which we don't want. That's not happy for the knees. So that's why we focus on this squeezing in first. And then you have this play, a resistance between the thighs going back and the shins resisting it. So ideally we take this into every pose. Let's see. Go ahead and turn toward the big windows and then turn your right toes to the right as you step your feet wide. Yeah, and then turning, you can kind of gaze at Catherine. That's it, Jen, you got it. And then Catherine, step your left foot slightly forward so that your right heel intersects the arch of your left foot. Round into your feet as you continue to breathe. On your next breath in, stretch your arms, and as you exhale, bend into your right leg. So for a warrior two pose, exactly. Super good. Amazing form. I'm going to invite you, Neesha, to take a longer stance front to back because you guys are, I think, stronger than that. And this is only an hour class, so it's not like we're going to go back to the office and you're like, I'm just going to bust out the deepest year two of my life, right? This is it. Excellent. Okay, everybody, as you breathe in, rise up and then reverse your feet to the second side. So breathing. Next exhale, bend into left knee. Good. Squeezing the heels and shins toward the middle. Noticing that fortifies your body all the way up. Of course, Liz. Perfect. Just keep your foot right there, but feel that really to the outer edge of your foot. Beautiful. Next breath in, rise up. You can release your arms, turn your toes to the first side again. So right toes to the right. And then come into side angle pose. Bend into your right thigh. Your right forearm can come down to your right thigh, or your right hand can come down to the block, or even the floor. It depends, right? So it depends. We don't want to overdo it. Want to keep good form. This is looking excellent. The knees right over the ankle, perfect. Exhale, root down to your feet. Keep that awareness as you breathe in. As you exhale, the next time, squeeze your shins to the middle, feeling beautiful, that illumination, contraction, lighting up, not only through your lower legs, but probably up into your upper legs too. You don't have to do them as many. Now, using the power of your inner thighs that are lit up by squeezing your shins in, press your thighs back and apart. Then, as you exhale the next time, root your tail way down. Roar toward the floor. And feel that for your power. Good job. Push into your feet with your breath in. Come all the way up. And other direction. To the pose. Beautiful. Good job. Left toes to the left. Stretch arms. Exhale. Bend into left leg. Reach so that you're in the same or similar shape as you were on the first side. The poses are, as you're breathing here, like magical. And then we're juicing them. Exhaling in feet. Breathing in, keeping that presence in feet. As you exhale, squeeze shins together, keeping that. Breathing in, press thighs wide. As thighs press wide apart from one another. Root tail down. Feel that as your tail roots down, your belly and your chest, might be able to extend this lower. Amazing. And you stretch and expand. The contraction unfolds into the expansion. And the expansion feeds its way into the contraction, squeezing shins in. You breathe in and push into your feet and rise all the way up. And turn all toes forward toward the big windows. Bring hands to hips. Lift your chest up as you breathe in, and as you exhale, fold all the way forward. Your hands can come down as your upper body comes down. Release head, release neck. In this particular pose, we'll breathe here a few more breaths. Juicing not only this expansive side of breath, condensing side of breath, but also embodying it, squeezing. As you exhale, squeezing shins in. Keeping that as you breathe in, press your thighs wide against that, thighs wide. Notice there's more room for tail to go down. Excellent. Excellent. Make sure you open over the head and these knees. Little nuances. Good. Quadriceps. There we go. Staying with your breath. Push from your pelvis out through your feet. Another way to juice that breath. And then hands come to the hips with an in-breath. Come halfway up. Make sure belly strong, spine long. Next breath in, come the rest of the way up to vertical. And step or hop your feet closer together. And you can turn to face the front of the room again. I'm going to bring these blocks. You may not need them, but you're going to bring them to the tallest height. There's always a low, a medium, and a high height. We're going to bring them to the tallest height. It's about 12 to 18 inches in front of your feet. And bend both knees. Not as quite as deep as Utkatasana. Shift onto your left foot. Lift your right foot up and cross your right ankle over the top of your left knee. So there's a little shelf. So your standing leg is bent. Squeeze your shins together, which means your feet have to be active here. Then you fold forward, and that's one reason the blocks are there. Some of us are happy for the blocks. Some of us can go lower, down, maybe lowering the blocks to lower level, or even bringing the hands to the floor. As you breathe, follow and exhale to reaffirm this skill set of hugging the shins to the midline. So that means the foot that's up needs to be flexed. So we're going to pull that this way and squeeze the heel in, yeah. And then when you do that, notice you might feel more stretch in the outer hip or booty region. Now, there's the option here, you stay rooted in your left foot, keep the contraction of the left heel pulling up into the left booty and contract the front of the thigh up into the hip. So the standing leg Alice might move towards straight, but you don't want to lock back or collapse back into the knee. This is one reason we're doing this. Exhale the next time to lower your foot down. You're going to stand forward bend. Another round of breaths. And wait for an in-breath to come all the way up. The arms can come up and the hands can slide back to heart, Hridaya, heart in Sanskrit. But one reason we do this, we're pulsing and working the contraction, is to protect and support our knees. Because we like to do certain things in yoga and to get into the outer hips, a lot of times we need this flexion and external rotation, which can put a lot of shear force on the knee. That doesn't sound so great, right? So that's why we're squeezing to the midline, keeping the foot active. So you can stand on your right leg this time, bend it, lift left leg up, place the ankle on top of the knee, nice and foot, and then you fold forward. And so feel as you're breathing here, there's so much to feel, probably, hopefully, right? We honor what we feel, because that means you've been hopefully enjoying summertime, being in your body. As you flex your left foot, you might notice that it puts more stretch in the booty or the hip. Does anybody notice that?
Yes.
Yeah. And I'll tell you why. It's because you're taking that shear out of the knee, because you're supporting it with contraction, putting the stretch in the hip, which is safer and better. And I teach this over and over and over, right, Catherine? Because it's important. We love our knees, right? And we want to be able to stretch the hips. Now, keep rooting down through the left heel as you pull the leg muscles up from the heel into the glute and pull the front of the leg up as well to perhaps move toward more of a straight knee. You're doing so good, Jen, not locking back into that knee. Another deep breath. And then stand on both feet, bow forward, and push into your feet to come all the way up. We're going to take more than one breath, and as you exhale, get closer to home, closer to heart. Step the feet a little bit wider. So we're going to a squat. So there's many, many ways to squat. Some of us will want something under the heels, and some of us will want the blocks under the bum, right? So that we're not. So the reason of using perhaps blocks underneath the seat is because we have some knee stuff going on, right? I mean, it's a little less gravitational force down on the. Yeah, I would say less blocks. I'd say one less block reset and see how that is. Without like totally breaking down. Yeah, see?
Should I have that?
We're going to bring a couple of breaths here. So it's another magic shape to put your body in for many, many reasons. Should we talk about now or over lunch? Just kidding. There's so much to be said. It's a beautiful conversation to be in. So grounding your feet, keeping your feet exactly where they are. Squeeze your feet in, squeeze your shins in. Yeah. So I saw that you did it because I saw some of you get more axial extension through your spine by squeezing your shin in. That's how magic that contracted energy is. It turned on some light switches up through your whole body. So amazing. And then you can lower yourself all the way down. It really is blissful for me. So I hope that you're each of you getting some joy out of witnessing this in your body. So we bring the left shin parallel to the front of the mat, and then you kind of kerplunk over on your left hip a little bit. Yeah, so parallel to the front of the mat, and you might be able to see that this foot's really active and pushing out through the big toe. You can touch your big toe mound to bring some awareness to that, because we don't always think of that. Push your foot, push your big toe mound into your fingers stronger, Jen. This is, you'll feel when you do that, that creates the shin to the midline business. Because now the midline is this direction, it's up. Yeah. Then we're going to cross the right leg over the top. And we're just going to be here for a minute, because this might be a good thing to do. Yeah, nice and feel. So when there's so much going on, it might be like really wide shins, right? But it's important. And right now we're registering in through the big toe mound, pushing. Stronger, Jen. So I'm going to have you pull the baby toe side of your foot back toward your outer knee. You're doing good. And then everybody press your inner thighs toward these big windows. So it's like you want to stomp your foot, push right there. Yeah, you feel how your shin? So that takes the shear force out of your knee. Do you feel that difference? It's super subtle. Okay, here we go. You can either stay here or press your inner thighs that way so much and lift this foot up to come in toward or into an Adho type of pose. Beautiful. And then for some of us, it's like we want it, this can be a good teacher. We can bring a block to the foot so that you're like, oh, that's grounding through my foot and creating the shins in thing to protect the knees. You can also take a forward fold if that's appropriate for you. You don't have to. I don't think it's appropriate. Yeah, because there's a lot going on. So we are where we are. And in any class, we're going to have all sorts of different bodies, different experiences, different histories. And so honoring this, even contracting and condensing into your own being, trusting and even developing your wisdom and intuition in this moment. Now, bring your upper body up if you're in a forward bend. Then bring your hands on my back facing for you. Bring your hands to the left side of your body. Slide your right leg across your legs so that your foot comes to the ground. Push down into hands and feet, hips lift up. Walk your hands toward the door. Swivel on your feet. Keep walking your hands toward the left. Keep swiveling on your feet. Keep swiveling on your feet. Then, when your head is facing the right, and you're going to sit your hips down, and you're in a similar position. And you were here. Okay, so you're going to bring your hands to the side of your body, push into your feet, press your inner thighs back and apart. Even that might be a big stretch. If you like, you can slide your foot and shin over to this position we call fire log or agni. These fire stamba with log. Breathe, feet. So for those of us who are accustomed to this alignment, yep, got it. Breathe for those of us who are not accustomed to it. So what that's going to do when you truly, truly flex to your feet, your knee's going to lift some. You see that? Your knee, the goal isn't necessarily to have your, yeah, it's not where a lot of us would be in this moment with our hips as they are. Yes, you are, or it's yet, right? So bring this hand to the block, press it into your foot and foot into, there we go. You feel that in your hip? I know it because it's detailed. Very good though. Keep squeezing the shins in to the midline, which means flexed feet. The shins are moving on the trajectory up toward the sky. As you breathe in, press your inner thighs down to the floor and wide apart from one another. Yeah, beautiful. And then just for the fun of it, so if you're forward folded, come on up and then just to be even on both sides. Hands go over to the right side of the body. Place the hands, press into the feet. Walk your hands behind you as your feet swivel. Your hands keep walking, your feet keep swiveling. You sit and back down. Now bring the soles of your feet together. We didn't do that while the fire off thing, did we? We did. I missed it. You missed it a little bit. Sorry about that. You can do that instead. If you didn't do that. I thought you were there for a reason. I felt that you were deep in the juice of something.
No, I was down.
All right. So once again, so instead of letting your feet flop out, we're going to press the big toes into one another. Big toe mounds into one another. So that lifts the shins up, squeezes them to the middle. Then engage your inner thighs. Press your knees isometrically up. Then push down, move your butt back, and set it down. So sticking the tail feathers back. Now squeeze from the outer knees into the outer hips as you exhale. That was the moment, yeah. So you're using your muscles to open your joints as opposed to gravity or collapsing into joints. Yeah, and then you feel that as you're working it like this, some of you might be contracting so much in the outer hips, outer knees to the outer hips, that your feet start to pull apart, but it's not from a place of collapse. I think it makes a difference, right? So if a forward fold is appropriate for you here, please do a forward fold too. My body doesn't do that. Yours might, or mine doesn't yet. We're very much still exhaling, squeezing shins in, breathing in, pressing inner thighs down and wide. Exhaling, squeeze outer hips in, so the outer hips ground down. Nice. If you're forward folded, come on up. And then bring your feet into, just say, a comfortable cross-legged seated position. And then just notice, perhaps, that it truly is more comfortable, more easeful. Well, why don't you sit up on the bolster your blanket or your block, just because there's a little bit of so we have a great opportunity now to perhaps feel a little less static or whatever in the body, and a lot more ease. So let's just be with the breath. Inviting your inhalation to be more deep than normal, but not a lot of exertion. And the same with your exhale. So it's just a little bit deeper, but it's still very chill. And then just linger At the top of the inhalation for 1 to 3 seconds. Linger at the bottom of the exhalation again for 1 to 3 seconds. As easeful as possible. Lingering in those moments between the expansive current and the condensing current. Recognizing yourself as pulsation. Have a choice for another few moments. You can stay here or you can lie down on your back. Just let it all go. Let it all be for a couple more minutes. There's no one choice that's necessarily better or more lofty than the other. The idea is to listen in to your own body, mind, spirit, and let yourself be guided by your own wisdom here. The space of letting it all be as it is right now. Allowing your awareness to really be interested in how your back body is in contact with ground, with surfaces relating to floor, to mat, to backs of heels, parts of calves, parts of the backs of your thighs, parts of your glutes, noticing what parts of the back and back ribs are heavy, noticing the contact shoulders and the upper arms have noticing now from this felt sense, awareness moves more to the front body, sensing clothing and skin, feeling your edges, feeling air and space, noticing the soundscape, allowing yourself to take in, accommodate the ground below, the space around, feeling your breath. Invite your breath to gently and progressively deepen over the next few or so breaths. Feel inclined, start to move a little bit, swirling fingers perhaps, wrists, maybe ankles and toes. The breath is exploring as you perhaps reach your arms up and overhead and pull arms and legs away from one another to then relax and release. Bend a knee, perhaps both knees, and roll to your side with an arm on that side supporting your head. Pause there. This moment of rebirth, and letting go now, slowly moving back into the world. Ground down into your top hand to help yourself up to your seat. May your body be more at ease. May your heart be able to feel it all and accommodate it all. And may you recognize yourself in the highest ways possible as pure vibration, as nothing other than absolute love pulsing through you and as you. Many blessings. Namaste. Namaste. So much for practicing, and I know I get really passionate about the shin, so I like you for diving in with me to the delight of embodiment.
But that's part of the promise.
Of diving into the simple things, you know, that there's something about full awareness. So thanks for joining there with me. Thank you. Nice to see you. Nice to see you. A long time. But not that long. I feel like I've seen you around town. Did you watch or something? Oh yeah, yeah. And that's kind of like. No, if you feel useful in here, that's. Yeah, right, the cooler now. So children do that.
Like,
How does that make a big deal?
they feel a lot.
Because it's not necessarily what all hips do, because you could have like a really deep hip socket with like a long femur head. So there's a head of the femur and you get the neck, and the head and the bone could be really long. And so there might be different range of motion between you and another person.
Because that last series, I was just hardly cross my foot over.
But did you get a good stretch on this?
did.
Just, okay.
Did.
Yeah, and that's what I was trying to offer some different kind of shapes.
Yeah.
Because I know that
I appreciate it.
can be like, yeah, you know, and biopreneurs, that one, that last one, I sold it together. That one can be just, you know,
It was frustrating. It was the only one I was like, oh, I cannot even get a semblance of it. But,
yeah, next time we do that, just to heighten yourself up more.
okay.
Because it can be hard to get a semblance of it if the hips are,
Just saying absolutely not.
Yeah.
Maybe not way.
yeah, you need more height.
Okay. I'll try that next time.
But yeah, like I do this, like in that position, my legs do that, but my body doesn't hold on. It's like, that's just not what my body does.
Right.
So I tend to look at that cue. I'm like, oh yeah, some bodies do that in this pose.
Well, thank you so much. It was a wonderful class.
It was so nice to see you
Nice to
again.
see
I hope you're continuing to enjoy the pool.
Yes, wonderful.
The coolness that is
On my way in. My 10-year-old, she's at Teton High School this week, and they're camping. It's like first camping experience ever. So I'm hoping it doesn't rain. Just have fun. Right. You're gonna have. Yeah, totally.
I went to my first, I used to lead backpacking trips and I remember going to the summer camp and the first 7